Indian food doesn't have to be spicy, it just has a lot of spices. Most people are really intimidated by Indian spices, but you don't really need to be. It's a great way to add flavor without adding fat in your food. Anybody can throw some butter or bacon in a pan and make something delicious, but to really have an understanding of Indian spices just gives you a larger paint box with which to make your art. So today we're going to start with coriander. So coriander comes in a dried powder. It can look very similar to cumin powder. This is much more pungent, much more eucalyptal. The seeds are almost peppery and the texture is really nice. That's often the heat you feel in Indian food. This is fresh coriander or cilantro. This has a really grassy, herbaceous, floral note. Coriander comes in a lot of forms. So the turmeric is also great. Like, turmeric is a really mild spice. It has more of a smell than an actual taste. It's also good as a food coloring. You can just add a quarter teaspoon or half a teaspoon of turmeric powder and it gives this beautiful golden hue. So some of the other Indian spices are cumin seeds and fennel seeds. Cumin and fennel look pretty similar, but they have different tastes. And used together, just in a rice pilaf, like saute some onions, they're really beautiful. They add a nice aroma to it. Some other Indian spices that we're actually going to use today are mustard seeds, curry leaves, and sambar or Madras curry powder. In Indian cooking, we generally tend to use black or brown mustard seeds. When they get heated up, that heat causes the mustard seed to explode. Never cook mustard seeds without hearing that pop, because then they'll be bitter. Most people think that curry is one thing, but it's not. Saying something is curry is like saying I'm having a pasta dish. There can be millions of curries, but curry powder is actually a blend of different Indian spices ground together. If you buy one spice to cook Indian food, buy the garam masala. And in South India, the spice blend that's usually used is sambar curry powder or Madras curry powder. Those two are not to be confused with curry leaves. They are a plant that can grow into a tree. They're often used in South Indian cooking. It has a more nutty flavor. So today we're going to do a dish with Chinese long beans and black-eyed peas. You want to add about a couple of tablespoons of canola oil. Let that oil get really hot. I'm going to add a teaspoon of black mustard seeds. Once they start jumping out, that's when you want to add the other ingredients. We're adding a cup of diced onions, a few cloves of garlic, as well as some fresh minced ginger. And basically you just want to saute these and add 6 to 8 curry leaves and just break them up. This will release the oils that are within the flesh of the leaves. If you wanted to add cumin seeds or even fennel for a nice sweet crunch, now would be the time to do it. So you want to cook the tomato down just until it breaks up and loses its shape. This should take about 5 to 7 minutes. Then you just want to add a little bit of salt. Not too much, but I like to add the salt in stages. So you see how the onions are getting charred and brown at the edges? That's because I turned the heat up. I like that pan roasted flavor. I think it adds an extra layer to this dish. And at this point, you want to add your sambar or Madras curry powder. Add it here. The spices release their own oils. That's what gives it the flavor. So I've turned the heat down a little bit, but you can see how it cooks down into this beautiful vegetable stew. And again, it's not meant to be heavy, it's supposed to be flavorful. If you really wanted to be a little more extravagant, you could add a pat of butter to this. Once the tomatoes have cooked down and fallen apart, you're going to add your Chinese long beans, because those are fresh and they do take a little bit of time. They take more time than haricot vert or green beans to cook. This dish can be made a number of ways. This could be like just a template for a recipe with one kind of bean or legume and one kind of green vegetable. So you should cover this and let it cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. I don't mind adding a little bit extra water because the black-eyed peas will absorb water. And again, you want to serve this over rice or couscous, and you want a little bit of gravy. Here is when you add the final second half of salt, so the whole dish is salted. And just salt a little bit as you go. You can always add more. There is your plant-based dish with tons of protein, tons of Indian spices, and not a lot of effort.